Well, hello, folks, and welcome to the Dieter Melhorn Fishing Podcast. I hope you're having a good day, whatever day it is that you happen to be listening to the show. Let's talk about paylakes. It's come up in conversation recently in a couple of different ways. I did a podcast with Alex Nagy from Twisted Cat Outdoors. Go check that out. I'll try to remember to put you a link down in the description where you check his stuff out. He runs a tournament series, has a podcast, works for Sea Arc, and he's a very big dominant face and force in the catfish world. Did a podcast with him. We talked about a lot of stuff. Paylakes came up. Was in a conversation. I was doing a fishing seminar last night for a local fishing club, and this was a mixed bag of people out there that fish for everything from saltwater to bass to trout. And I was talking mainly about catfish and taking questions from the crowd, and paylakes came up. And yesterday I was scrolling through the internet and I was listening to a guy named Adam Cook. Okay, I met Adam in passing. I don't really know him, but I love following his content because Adam really doesn't pull any punches in what he says online. And he's been through some stuff. He's got an interesting story. I may try to sit down and do a podcast with him. He was a charter captain up on the James River, made a move, went to Louisiana, hit some problem stuff down there, life things breaking and burning down, and then he got into a discussion recently with somebody about they wanted him to catch fish to sell to a paylake. I'm not sure how all that unfurled online, but he addresses it. I'll try to put a link to Adam's stuff where you can check it out. Like I said, he's brash. If you don't like watching a guy with his shirt off talking to you, you might not want to watch his channel, but he's notorious for being there with his shirt off in these things, doing these shorts. And he has some interesting things to say. And I say all that to say that it kind of brought up the paylake thing, and I got into some conversations with multiple people over the past few days about it, and it's kind of the whole paylake perspective is kind of a symptom of I think a bigger cultural problem or dynamic is probably the better word in the catfish world. Real quickly, if you don't know what a paylake is a private lake, usually a pond, that is owned by a private business that you pay to fish. You pay to fish it. You can fish for trout, you can fish for bass, you can fish for catfish, carp, and these lakes are stocked with fish. The fish don't grow there. They don't reproduce naturally. They pay to have fish put in it. Some of them will let you keep fish. Some of them don't. The biggest majority of them, and the ones we're kind of talking about, are basically, for lack of a better term, a big gambling operation in the sense that you basically put up money to enter pots to see who catches the biggest fish. They do this for carp. They do it for catfish. And catfish are kind of the focus. Fish are caught in the wild from our rivers and lakes and then put into these lakes. A lot of these fish are bought. Some of the lakes catch their own fish, but a lot of them will reach out to anglers. They have reached out to me. They reached out to Adam. They've reached out to a lot of us that they see in social media and say, hey, we'll buy some of these catfish from you. Smaller ones are about $2 a pound. And then they have a scale that kind of goes up depending on how big they are, with some of the bigger fish over 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds going for $4 to $5 a pound. So you can do some basic math and you can see that there's a lot of money to be made here. So with that said, there's a lot of money that exchanges hands at these lakes. And there's a lot of resistance and pushback from anybody that's in the tournament world or the trophy catfish community. They don't like these lakes because fish are taken from public waters and put into these lakes, sold to these lakes. And we're going to get to that in a second. That's kind of this dynamic in the world, in the catfish fishing world. Most of them operate 100% legally, in the sense that they're getting fish and buying them from people who are doing it legally with a legal business. However, recently there have been more and more people caught that are selling these fish that are doing it illegally, transporting them possibly across state lines, possibly having too many fish, that type thing. Now, there are some states that will gladly let you take every fish around, Maryland being one of them. Maryland does not like the blue catfish. They'll let you catch, kill, keep every catfish you catch, and a lot of people are getting them from there now because they're relatively easy to catch. There's lots of them, and there's no restrictions stopping them. Other states that have restrictions in place on length and creel limits, you have to operate within those in most cases if you have a commercial fishing license to do what these people are doing. Some places you need a commercial license to do this, some places you don't. So it kind of is a little bit of a gray area. The bottom line is there's not a uniformed law rule in place that covers all this, so it varies state by state. So this brings me to the big picture of the catfish world. And the thing that really occurred to me, and a lot of people know this, I really got to thinking about it after this conversation, is the thing that we have in the catfish world in common is the catfish. That's almost like a wheel being the hub of that wheel is the catfish. And around that hub are people facing outside, looking out from that catfish that only see the world that they are in. That could be me, who is a guide. I've got my little window on how I look at the catfish world as a guide. I've got a little window I look out on one spoke of this wheel as a YouTuber, somebody who creates content for YouTube. And, I kind of look at it from the perspective of somebody who wants a resource down the road for my kids to fish and catch, grandkids, whatever. Another side of that wheel, there's somebody who shoots them with a bow and arrow. Perfectly legal in most states. And they shoot them with a bow and arrow. They think there's plenty of catfish. They want to go shoot them with a bow and arrow. And that's their perspective. That is what they see. That is the only thing they are concerned with. There are people who will go grab them with their hands, noodling, hand grabbing, whatever you want to call it. That is the only world they see, is looking down their path from the center of that hub where catfish are in their world. All they see is what they're doing and how they do it. And then you got folks that are fish paylakes. They may have mobility issues. They may not have access to a bank. They may not have a boat. They may not want to deal with a boat. They may not be able to afford a boat. Have no access to a place to fish. Like I said, maybe they don't get around good. They need something that's easy and safe to get to. They can go pay money, go to a pay lake, and enjoy a day, night of fishing in a relatively safe environment. In that same group of people, you've got people that are into the gambling end of it, the tournament end of it, the betting end of it, whatever you want to call it, where they literally fish for tens of thousands of dollars every weekend, every night of the weekend in these fishing tournaments that they have there. If you think, I brought up the question of who are the professional catfish tournament anglers out there. Well, I got bad news for all you guys in the $90,000 sea arcs with the pretty jerseys. The pay lake guys are making exponentially more money fishing for catfish than you guys will ever make. And that is in this pay lake world. There's a lot of money that changes hands in this space. And the great thing about it is it's all under the table. These places don't send out 1099s on any of this stuff. You go in there and make $2,000 in a night fishing a tournament there. Guess what? You're getting all the money. I don't think these guys are reporting it on their taxes. So there's the perspective from that world. The problem is that most people are not seeing the viewpoint of anybody else in all of this world. And that is what has created so much of the diversity in what goes on in the catfish world. And with that diversity comes a lot of disdain for that other group. I don't think that the like people who shoot them with a bow and arrow have that much disdain for anybody else as kind of doing their thing. I think a lot of it comes from the trophy anglers, the people who are fishing tournaments. They don't want to see those big catfish go away. And I think that's where the rub comes. They don't like the paylakes because that's where a lot of those fish go. And then that's where the heads bud. The name calling starts. Next thing you know, the paylakers don't like the guys that are tournament fishing and trophy fishing. And it creates a Hatfields and McCoy kind of situation where we're all part of the same family of catfish anglers, but it's a very diverse family of anglers to where, it's almost political. It's almost in a political sense. You have one group that is, the Democrats or the Republicans that are fishing paylakes. Then you have another group on the other side that's Democrats or Republicans, and they're against it. And it's created what I think will limit how big the catfish world and community gets. We've talked before about the American Catfishing Association or some other association out there being a unifying force. I was the first one that said if the ACA fails, we'll never have a unifying force in the catfish world. And it's looking like the ACA is on a downhill slide at this point. And I think because of this diversity in how these fish are harvested and the diversity in, the regulations, I think having a unifying force is not going to happen anytime soon. We may have something that could control the tournament world, but that's a very, very small world when it comes to catfish. As much as you may see that in social media, depending on where you're at, it's because there's money there. There's some money there that's getting that notoriety and that exposure, because most of those people have sponsors or selling products. Whereas in the paylake world, they could care less about a $90,000 Sea Arc boat or, an expensive Mad Cat rod. All they care about is going fishing and, how much money is in the pot and who's coming in and throwing money into it and how much you're giving away this weekend. So it's an interesting dynamic that I don't know that you see in any other fishing world. There's drama in all of them. But the dynamic in the catfish world is interesting when it comes to all these different sectors that are pursuing the same fish in different ways. And there's not really too many people that are seeing the other people's view in all this. The people who are stuck in the middle, honestly, are the biologists. They're the ones that these fisheries biologists that have to deal with this. They got the paylakers and the people, hand grabbing them and shooting them with bows and arrows, saying, "Oh, there's plenty of fish. We ain't got no problem. We ain't seen nothing change." And then you've got the guys over here that are saying, "Oh, this pool on the Mississippi or the Ohio, it doesn't have the fish it used to have. You need to stop this," or they're taking all the fish here. And, the biologists are kind of stuck in the middle trying to figure it out. And it's a interesting deal. Is there a solution to it? Absolutely not. I really don't think there is. You can put regulations in place to stop the sale of these fish, but you got to remember, out of that wheel and all those people, that one viewpoint of we need regulations is only one sector of people. You think about the other people, they could care less about regulations as long as they got fish to shoot and, fish to catch to put in a lake, and there's fish in the pay lake for them to catch. So it's I don't know that just the regulation thing is gonna help totally. And I don't know that you're going to convince those people that what they're doing is bad for the fishery, because they may not, if they're not seeing a totally negative impact, they are not going to believe that anything's going on. So I don't know. I don't have, the more I talk about this and the more I start to try to look at it from their perspective and their viewpoint, even if I don't agree with it, at least look at it from there, the more I realize we're very divided. We're very divided in the catfish world, and I don't know that that's going to change. I think we're going to have to deal with the dynamic that we got, and work within that. And I'd love to get y'all's opinion on this, and I will guarantee you that down in the comment section it's probably going to be going in all different directions. I'll be praised for what I've said in this podcast, and I'll be cussed and unfriended and unfollowed for what I've said in this podcast. But I think it's the reality of the situation is what it comes down to. And I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback. There's smart people out there that may have some type of resolution to it, because I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room. But I don't know. There may not be anything. This may just be the world we live in, the dynamic we live in, and the way it's going to be. But I thought about all this stuff the past few days. It's kind of come up. It's kind of boiled up to a head, and I just thought about it, and it's interesting. We'll go through the little season here, as I call it, in the paylake world, to where we don't hear a lot about them, usually through the winter time. And then about March, April, they start catching fish. They start posting pictures on Facebook, and the catfish world's up in arms again because they're posting these pictures of all these truckloads of fish they're dumping in there, and the uproar happens, and then it kind of goes through its cycles. But we'll see that again then. But like I said, there is some stuff going on with Kentucky just had a big bust of some illegally harvested and sold fish. So there is stuff being done. How big of an impact it has, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that's going to make a change. I don't know if there's enough care and concern from the people outside of the people who want it changed, if that makes any sense. You got these, out of 10 people, you got 2 of them that want to see change, and the rest of them think it's all okay. Then it's hard to get anything done at that point. So I don't know. Give me your thoughts. I want to hear down in the comment section what you think on this, what your ideas are. Appreciate you listening. We'll catch you out on the water.